Right, so hello and welcome back to Books and Things, and welcome to another video, and today I thought I would do the end of the year book tag. So this tag has been going around on BookTube the last few weeks, so I thought I would join in. I don't think anyone specifically tagged me, but I am very behind on BookTube, so apologies if you have tagged me and I have not noticed. This tag was originally created by Ariel Bissett. I will link the original video down below, and I thought it seemed fun, and we're getting towards the end of the year, so I thought I would answer the questions. Question number one is, are there any books that you started this year that you need to finish before the end of it? So the two physical books I'm currently reading are The Faculty of Indifference by Guy Ware and Reading Lolita in Tehran by Azar Nafisi. This is a pick for non-fiction November, and this is a fiction book that I'm reading at the moment. I'm really enjoying both of these, and I'm sure I'll finish them off by the end of November. And then currently on audiobook, I'm listening to Black and British by David Olusoga, which is a history book which I am very much enjoying. It's 25 hours long, so I might not quite finish it by the end of November, but I definitely will finish it at some point. And then the only other thing that is on my currently reading shelf on Goodreads is At Home by Bill Bryson, which I did actually start earlier on in the year and sort of put down. Basically, I started listening to it on audiobook as an audiobook that I was listening to while I was going to sleep, but the narrator is very, very quiet and softly spoken, so I listened to like 4 hours of it, but I didn't actually really take any of it in. So I will carry on with that. I'm hoping I will listen to that in December and finish it off by the end of the year, but it's not like a massive priority. I was going to read it for non-fiction November, but there were other things that I wanted to listen to more, so I might listen to that in December, but if not, it might end up going into 2021. Question 2 is, do you have any autumnal reading plans to transition into the end of the year? So I am not a very seasonal reader in general. I feel like lots of people are quite seasonal in their reading, and I'm really not. Unless it's like a specific Christmas book, in general I'm happy to read anything at all times. However, because for the last few years I've hosted Victober in October and then taken part in non-fiction November in November, I now associate the autumn with like firstly classics and also non-fiction. So I guess I now vaguely consider those autumnal reads because I'm reading them for readathons. So I've read lots of Victorian literature in Victober, obviously, and I am reading some non-fiction this month for non-fiction November as well. Question 3 is there a new release that you're still waiting for? So there isn't like a new release that hasn't come out yet that I'm excited about, but there is a book that came out in October which I haven't got my hands on yet, which I am very excited about, which I'm sure I will get my hands on at some point in the next few months, and that is The Artful Dickens by John Mullen. This is a non-fiction book actually, and it's very rare for me to be this excited about the release of a non-fiction book. But basically John Mullen is the author of my favourite non-fiction book of all time, What Matters in Jane Austen, which is a work of literary criticism about Jane Austen, and his new book, The Artful Dickens, is a work of literary criticism about Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens is my favourite author. John Mullen wrote my favourite non-fiction book. It's gonna be a great book, I'm sure. I have very high hopes for it, but I have not bought it yet. Hopefully I'll get that at some point in the next few months because I'm very excited for it. I think it's going to be a really good read, and a non-fiction book that I'm like expecting to give 5 stars to, which is quite rare for me for non-fiction, so I'm very excited for that one. Question 4 is, what are 3 books that you want to read before the end of the year? So I'm going to cheat and say 5. The reason why is that I have this little jar. This is my TBR jar. You may see me holding this up in goals videos and other things like that. It used to be bigger, now it's smaller. Basically, just before Christmas 2019, I put the names of all the books on my shelves that I hadn't read on slips of paper into a jar. So a jar full of all of the books that were on my physical TBR. At the beginning of the year, I think it was in the mid-50s, and I've been working really hard to get the jar down this year and to read the books that have been in my physical TBR for a long time. I now only have 10 titles left in this jar, which is exciting. So I got through a lot of my physical TBR this year, and I quite like to get it down to 5 by the end of 2020. I'm not going to get it down to 0 because there are some books that I have on slips of paper in this jar that I want to buddy read with people and things like that, but I would like to get it down to 5, which means there are 5 books in that jar which I want to read by the end of the year, and they are these 5 here, all of which I'm excited to get to and really hope that I will read. They are quite thick books, so we'll see how I go. I'm hoping I might squeeze one into the end of November and then pick up the rest in December. So we have Out by Natsuo Kirino, which is a thriller translated from the Japanese. Then we have The Unconsoled by Kazuo Ishiguro, which I'm very excited for. Kazuo Ishiguro is one of my favourite novelists, and this is the last book of his that I have to read, although I believe he's coming out with one next year, but you know, for now, this is the last book of his I have to read. I also have Rough Music by Patrick Gale, who is another author I really like. I have Secret Passages in a Hillside Town by Patty Jacquelenin. I read his book The Rabbit-Back Literature Society a few years ago and really enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to this. And then I also have The Glass Town Came by Catherine M. Valente. I've read one other book by Catherine M. Valente, Radiant, which I absolutely adored, and this book is about the Brontes and the world that they created, but I think it's also a middle grade book, so it's going to be slightly different, but I'm looking forward to it. I have heard quite mixed things about it, but I trust Catherine M. Valente, so we will see how it goes. Question 5. Is there a book that you think could still shock you and become your favourite book of the year? So there's definitely the possibility of that. I feel like this year I don't know. I haven't decided what my favourite book of the year is so far. There are definitely some contenders, but I'm not actually sure what would win, as it were. Which definitely in the past 2 years, I read my favourite book of the year back in April, May. And I knew, the moment I read it, I was like, it's going to be very, very, very hard to beat this. But this year, I feel like there's not one standout all above the rest. There are some that are, contending for the top spot, but I don't feel like I've actually made my decision yet on what my favourite book of the year would be, if that makes sense. And it's not that I haven't read a lot of amazing books this year. I think it's more that actually I've read many amazing books this year. And as well, I think the last 2 years, my favourite novel of the year was a really standout historical reading group novel. And I don't feel like I've read a novel in that genre that has stood out to me as much this year. And somehow I find it easier to judge that genre. Basically, I've read a lot of very good modern classics this year, and I don't really know how to judge them against each other. So I feel like there's even more possibility than usual that something could come left of field and take the top spot, but we will see. 2 of the 5 books I just spoke about are by 2 of my favourite authors, Kazu Ishiguro's The Unconsoled and Rough Music by Patrick Gale. Kazu Ishiguro and Patrick Gale are both writers I've given many 5 stars to in the past, so I feel like both of these are serious contenders, but though I have heard that The Unconsoled is a bit controversial as Ishiguro goes, so we will see. We'll see what happens when I come to do my ranking at the end of the year. The final question, question 6, is have you already started making reading plans for 2021? Absolutely I have. I have already started making so many reading plans. You know the monthly checklist thing that I have that I tick off every month that I've been doing in 2020? I've already written mine for 2021. I think I wrote it back in August. I've been planning my reading challenges for next year for months. Basically, because my main reading goal this year was to really get my physical TBR down, and I have done that, I feel like I can be a bit more ambitious in my reading goals and my reading challenges next year and explore some particular areas that I'm very excited to read more in. So I've been planning that for quite a while now, which I'm pretty excited about. Like I said, my TBR jar should be down to 5 books by the end of the year, and I have acquired some books this year, but I think my overall physical TBR will still be below 25 if I read all the books that I want to by the end of the year. I'm not completely certain because quite a lot of my books are in storage right now, so I can't count them, so I could be wrong, but I think my overall physical TBR by the end of this year will probably be about 25, which is definitely manageable without me making lots of effort to read those books. I will just naturally read them anyway, I think, which means I'm hopeful that I can do lots of different things with my reading next year instead, so we will see. I've been making many plans for 2021. I'll definitely be making a reading goals video towards the start of next year. And that is it for now. Thank you very much for watching. Please let me know down in the comments if there are any books that you are very keen to get to by the end of the year, and if you've read any of the books I've spoken about and enjoyed them. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back very soon with another bookish video.